Hey everyone, and happy 2017. My name is Rick Gualtieri, and this is Tales of a Midlist Author. Wanted to kind of do a bit of a follow-up episode on something I talked about way back when. I had a video talking about box sets, and I kind of wanted to follow up. That was mostly telling you, okay, what box sets are, what anthologies are, all of that stuff. Um, Today I wanted to talk about, primarily anthologies, and the main difference, and I didn't state this in my earlier video, live and learn. Every day that goes by, I try to be a little less stupid than I was. But a box set, that's typically something you're going to put together yourself, your own stories. An anthology, when people say that, they typically mean a collection from multiple different authors, usually on a theme or so. So what I wanted to talk to you today was about anthologies, and more importantly, how to protect yourself and others. Um, we already went into the marketing basics, why they're good in that previous video, so we won't get into that. This here is more kind of a how to cover your ass, or more precisely, your reputation as an author, making sure you don't get screwed, and making sure, probably most importantly, your Amazon account doesn't get completely shut down as a result of it. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. First things first, I just will acknowledge there does seem to be a bit of cracking down going on Amazon. Whether this is because of double dipping or whether because some of the people are breaking the rules, as I'm about to talk about. Not sure. It's probably a little bit of both, but there does seem to be some cracking down going on Amazon of multi-author anthologies, especially in Kindle Unlimited, that aren't exclusive. So, for example, and I talked about this in the last one, there's kind of two different ways you go about this. One is an exclusive story. So this is a story you're only publishing in that anthology for a set period of time. And the other is a non-exclusive, in which case, I might take Bill the Vampire and put it in 4 or 5 different anthologies and say, okay, go nuts with it. They seem to be cracking down on the non-exclusive ones. As I said, this might be partially due to double dipping. They don't want their customers paying twice for the same content. But it also, I think, might partially be because some people are kind of breaking the rules and probably are going overboard. If you have your book in multiple different anthologies at the same time, that probably is a bit of double dipping. One or two, that might be one thing, but if you're spread out across the board with the same story, I can see how readers might complain about that. So the main thing with when you go into an anthology is, with your eyes open, know what you're getting into. So I mean, you want to be a good member of the author community. If you're going in there and they say, hey, we want a novella of this time, of this length, on this subject, by this time, well, if you commit to it, make sure you follow through on it. That's kind of like the thing. If there's marketing commitments, make sure you follow through on it. If there's monetary commitments, make sure you follow through on it. Being a good, you don't want to just be the sponge who just goes out there and just says, okay, hey, I'm going to put my crappy story, that I kind of just shit out, and they're amongst these good ones and hope I glom off their friends. You want to put your best foot forward there. And likewise, commitment wise, make sure that you sign up to do what you can. Like, for example, me, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan of pimping too much on social media. So I'll mention that something is out there, but I'm not going to do it every day. But I try to make up for that with paid ads. I have no problem putting something out there on my Facebook or so ads, and and doing my part that way. So something, but something to talk about ahead of time. The main thing here is making sure you're not getting screwed. And the ultimate way of getting screwed is kind of two parts. One, not getting paid, and two, putting your Amazon account in jeopardy. So what I wanted to talk about was a few warning signs before you get into an anthology, before you sign up, because when you get asked to be in one, it's awesome. It's like, hey, that's great. These people are acknowledging me as a peer. Let me go into this and do this. But then, I've seen people kind of be like, I'm starting to get a weird feeling in my gut. I'm not sure if this is something I should do. And they're kind of afraid to back out because they're not sure if it's just them or not. I was in corporate America for 20 years. I'll be perfectly honest. I will just say, I learned to kind of go with my gut. If something does not sound right, chances are it's not just me. But I want to talk about some warning signs. That said, before I get into it, I've been pretty lucky with the anthologies I've been in. I've been in several, and they've been mostly good experiences. A couple definitely stood out as awesome. I was in Modern Magic last year. That was put together by John Hartness and Gail Martin. Big shout out to them. They did an excellent job. They were very professional. They made sure everybody got paid, organized. It was a wonderful experience put together by two really good writers. Another more recent one, and I'll give an even bigger shout out to Amy Easterling. I was in the Magic and Mistletoe anthology, and this was a short story anthology that came out this past Christmas. And kudos to her for being just the most organized person I have probably ever met, because she put this together in a matter of weeks. And if anybody else I think had tried this, it could have been a disaster. And she made it like work. Like people got their work done on dime. It was edited. It came out well. So kudos to her. So two good eggs there. If you ever get a chance to look up their books, or if they ever ask you to meet an anthology, they have the Rick seal of approval. But all right, let's get into some warning signs here. Probably the biggest warning sign is a lack of transparency. The whole thing of an anthology is, especially one where there's buy-in. Buy-in means that they're saying you have to be you're in this. You're going to give a story, but you're also going to give us either time or marketing or pledge of marketing dollars. That's fine. And I've seen ones that are up there like anywhere from a $50 buy-in to a $500 buy-in. That's all fine and well if you can afford it. Just make sure there is transparency, because here's the thing: if you're putting money towards something, and even if you're not, if you're just putting in time and stuff, you should know where every dollar is being spent. And the person organizing it should be happy to do so. They should, they might not have it immediately upon that. They might want to see how many people are getting into it. But before the anthology launches, there should be an accounting of, okay, we took in $2,500, $1,000 is going for this purpose, $1,000 is there, whatever. Or if they're talking about taking the proceeds and reinvesting it, they should tell you exactly what they're doing with it. And there should be some agreement from the general populace of the anthology first. If you're not getting that transparency, that accounting, whether it's in an email, blog post, or whatever, or Facebook post or whatever form, that's a warning sign. That tells you somebody's playing around with the money. They're not telling, and part of that is your money, and they're not telling you what they're doing with it. And if they're not telling you what they're doing with it, well, there's possibly a good chance they're doing something they shouldn't be with it. So lack of transparency, lack of accounting. Look for bizarre fees. I really cannot stand when I see something along the lines of, okay, $500 is going to editing, $250 going to a cover, $100 going to administrative fees, and then there's a book buffer, and it's like, wait, what do you mean administrative fees? What the fuck are administrative fees? That's the equivalent of shipping and handling, that nebulous, I don't know what I'm paying for here. Now, here's the thing. I have no problem with somebody being paid for their time. Organizing an anthology often requires, a decent amount of commitment on the organizer's part. If they say upright, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing for the anthology. I'm collecting it, I'm editing it, I'm formatting it, and I'm taking that $100 for my time spent doing that. I have no problem with that. Nobody should not, people should be paid for their time. That is perfectly cool. But if they're not telling you what it's there, it's basically just saying that's for my time, and they're not telling you what that time is spent doing, that's an issue. That's another warning sign, because essentially they're basically saying, this is a pleasure of doing business with me tax. If somebody's not willing to tell you exactly what that money is going towards, I would consider that a massive warning sign. Guarantees. There are no guarantees in this world. So anybody who comes and says, "Oh, I have a surefire formula for getting on the New York Times or USA Today lists," that's an issue. And because here's the thing: if somebody is guaranteeing something and they have "quote unquote" a system, well, they might have a ton of readers. That's possible, but you really can't guarantee readers. So if they are making that guarantee, something, I might say they might have a system for doing something. And the problem is when you have a system for doing something, the chances are that involves manipulating sales. And that's against the rules. Be on the lookout for that. Probably a big one I've seen, and I know Amazon has cut down on these, is look out for shady crap where, say, your book is in Kindle Unlimited, but they want to put this for pre-order wide, anything where they screw around that formula, or they want to put it, or your book is wide and they want to put it in the Kindle Unlimited and they put it on pre-order. Watch out for anything there, because be very careful, because you screw around with Kindle Unlimited, Amazon will kick you out of it, And if that's a major source of your income, you don't want to screw with that. And that means you're not allowed to play with it. You're not allowed to say, well, I'm going to put this story for pre-order on Barnes and Noble and like Google, even though it'll be just exclusively ordered on Amazon or such. Amazon doesn't like you to do that. It goes against their rules, and vice versa. You don't want to mess around with that. And here's the thing: some people get around with that by being shady, and they'll just be like, "Oh, hey, here's a multi-author anthology for pre-order," and they'll just list the authors. They won't list the stories you're buying. That's scummy. That should tell you that there's something untoward going on. I would worry about that. Bait and switches where they say one story and and then another one it's actually for sale. That's another issue. I would say anything where they're looking to possibly defraud the customer a little bit. For example, if they're not telling the customer the stories they're buying, well, that's an issue because here's the thing. They're saying they don't really care about the customer. And if they don't care about the customer, well, think about it. Does that mean they're going to have any problems screwing you over later on? Let's see here. Some have been in box sets. I've heard anecdotally of stories where people are basically sent or join a box set and they're expected to bring in a minimum number of sales or reads, and then show receipts for those. That's an issue because here's the thing: as any author, you shouldn't be able to guarantee anything. If you're telling me I have to bring in 100 sales and you have to show me proof, well, then, you know something? Chances are I have to manipulate things. I have to buy the book. I have to have friends buy the book. I maybe have to have friends buy the book on multiple things. Basically, I'm doing stuff to massage sales, and those probably are not legit sales. I mean, they might be legit in whatever. Maybe I have to pay back my friends, but essentially, when somebody's doing that, they're essentially turning you into a click farm, and click farms are a big no-no. Once again, it's manipulating the rankings, and Amazon does not like that. And you're putting yourself in jeopardy. I mean, here's the thing. Don't forget, somebody who's willing to screw around with the rules. If you have a moral issue after the fact, they're probably gonna have no problem screwing you over. So remember that. Let's see here. Turning into a click farm, and for the most part, just get that gut feeling of of being scummy. If there's something off, there probably is. If it feels that way. Afterwards, obviously, the biggest issue is failure for accounting, how many sales, how many page reads, and failure to fucking pay you. I cannot say that enough. If you're expected payment for that and somebody's collecting money and you're not seeing that payment, that's an issue. Now, I'm not saying to freak out if you're not paid. Okay, payment's due on today and it's 5 days later. I'm not going to freak out over a week. 3 months goes by and I haven't been paid. Yeah, at that point, I'm starting to get kind of ticked off. And probably sooner than that. I'm just saying that. The other thing, another warning sign there would be, and it's not really a warning sign at that point. At that point, you've been screwed, is when people stop returning your emails. Hey, I just wanted to let you know you're 2 weeks late in the payment. I just wanted to know how much we sold, and you get nothing back. Something? I don't buy the bullshit excuse of, oh, I'm too busy. I'm and such. There are some emails that it takes 2 seconds to respond to of, hey, I'll get that to you soon. You get silence for several days, and then you follow up and you still get silence. Yeah, you're being screwed. Probably the best thing you can do to protect yourself before going into an anthology like that is make sure there is a contract. That contract, and there's some boilerplates out there. You want to state up front what this anthology is, what the expectations are, how long it's expected to be live if it is an exclusive box set, all of that, and you want to make sure that above all else you retain copyright, because that's going to be the biggest thing you can use for yourself. I know some people will say, oh, you have a contract, you can sue them. Let's be honest. There's only going to be a few anthologies that make enough money that's worth suing somebody for. Most of these are going to be relatively small deals. Probably small claims court at best. Yeah, you might have the anthology. You're trying to get blood from a stone from some of these people, but the contract is probably most important there, because your best thing that you can probably do is take that to Amazon and say, these people are screwing me over. I'm taking away copyright, or I have copyright of this. They don't have my permission to use this story anymore, and have it taken down. Once again, don't jump the gun. Make sure you're being screwed. I wouldn't look at the thing and be like, oh, the anthology launched yesterday. I haven't been paid. Take it down. No, be reasonable. But use the weapons available to you. Mind you, before you reach the point of getting screwed and having to resort to that, I would say ask around. If there are authors going into an anthology that you trust, that you know are good eggs, talk to them, get their opinions. Go to various forums like the kboards.com and such and ask. A lot of the bad eggs out there, they're pretty decent sellers. They've done this a bit, and so people can be kind of afraid. They're like, well, I don't want to be on their bad side. What if they turn their like their fans against me or so? First of all, there's very few people out there who are that. I mean, if you're going into an anthology with J.K. Rowling and she does that, yeah, you might be screwed. But for all intents and purposes, I've heard she's actually a pretty nice person, so I doubt she would do that. Most of these people, it's just the threat of that. I would say worst case scenario is if you don't want to get reprisal, talk to people in direct message, in private or so. That said, there is some protection to be had about going into a public forum and just saying, hey, guys, first of all, before the fact, just ask, hey, I'm going into this anthology. Anybody ever deal with this person before? Some people might be upfront. Some people might direct message you if there is an issue. After the fact, if you have been screwed, you've already been screwed. Why are you going to keep being screwed? Go out there, name and shame, I would say. Because here's the thing. In this author community, there's good eggs, there's bad eggs, and the good eggs, really the best we can do is protect each other from the bad eggs and make sure that the bad eggs do not continue to profit. Somebody gets away with something once or twice, shame on them. Somebody keeps getting away with this. Hey, I've done 15 box sets. I haven't paid a single person. I've kept $100,000. Well, shame on the rest of us for keeping our mouth shut because, oh no, I don't want this person to ruin my career. Something at that point, screw that. One, the chances are they're not that powerful, and two, putting them out there, there are things you can use to protect yourself, and most importantly, keep records and pay attention. And if you start seeing a bunch of 1-stars showing up that seem to be coming from this other person's readers, something, ask Amazon, tell them to look into it. Don't be afraid. Information is our greatest asset on that. Now, that said, once again, there's a lot of awesome authors out there, and I'm not saying everybody's out to screw you. There's some people who are up and up. They do this, wonderfully, and in those cases, box sets can be an awesome thing. The flip side of it, and this might be accountable, this might be something I need to look into because I'm considering a horror anthology that I might want to put together later in the year, is kind of looking from the other side and do those same things if you're the organizer. Be organized, have a contract, be transparent, pay people on time, keep the lines of communication open, all of that stuff. You want to be a good member of the author community, and you want to keep yourself legally on, even if you don't care about your fellow authors, something, try to keep yourself from being sued. That's usually a smart thing. Keep yourself from being sued, your Amazon account being shut down, all little things that pretty much just come from being, not an asshole. All right, so that's kind of my things. Once again, the main thing there is protecting yourself, protecting others, all of that stuff, being a good citizen, not bending the rules. And, if you do that, anthologies can be an awesome thing. You don't want to wind up somebody who's sitting there, being owed $5,000, and you're sitting there in silence, just hoping that they pay you, even though it's been 6 months and you haven't heard a word. You don't want to end up in a situation like that. It happens. It's regrettable. But the best you can do is the best we can do is is make sure that that people like this can't hide in the shadows. So there's probably a lot more on that topic. Feel free to comment in the comments below. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to try not to name. I mentioned a few good eggs there. Fortunately, like I said, I haven't been in any bad anthologies. If I was, trust me, I would probably say so. But if you have any things to add in the comments, please do so. And that's pretty much about that for this issue. My name is Rick Gualtieri. This is Tales of Midlist Author. Stay safe, stay warm in these winter months, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks.